What's left inside an exorcist once they have expelled a demon? Do they stay in touch, exchange numbers? Does the Marine even have a soul? Or are they ready to turn heel and join chaos? Let's look at this new exorcist lore and story from Oath of Damnation by Robbie Macniven. And if you want to save yourself from the demons of the warp throwing themselves at the Gellar Field, then give the video a like to help this little channel stand out. So who are the exorcists? As the name suggests, each member of the chapter. To help them be resistant to chaos, accept a demon into their frames, and once this is removed from their bodies, they will be more resilient to chaos. When the demon can't be removed, these Marines are called Broken Ones, living prison cells for demons, because there can be more than one stuffed in there. Clearly this would be considered heresy if the wider Imperium learned about that practice, and in Oath of Damnation, a Broken One has escaped, so the exorcists send out an elite force, the Hex Breakers, to find the Broken One. One of the most experienced people with that group is Dagon Zaidu, who has a hidden connection to the escaped Neverborn quarry. We join the librarian Vey as he looks into an arcane book, one of many held by the chapter, and reads about the Red Marshal, Cades. Dagon Zaidu finds him and says it has returned, and so Zaidu and the Hex Breakers are deployed. Cades was the demon Zaidu expelled, his never-brother, and an exorcist will always share a bond with its former demon and can sense it. Cades has come back from the warp and claimed the body of another exorcist. We see a Marine, Anu, who used to have a Slaanesh demon in him, Sileth. It still speaks to him of perfection, and that's still something he has to resist in combat. The librarian, Vey, had a Zeech demon in him. The demon could tell when people lied, or some of that stayed with Vey, so each of those who has taken a demon into them is still tainted by it. The Red Marshal, Cades, has history on the planet he's taken the body to, and wants to increase his power, but other demons are in the Broken One, along with Cades. Part of the Marine, Zaidu, wants to be reunited with the demon, become part of that whole. He can still feel that call. During the story, the word bearers find Cades and bind him. Just as this happens, the exorcists find their traitor brothers. As that's about to happen, the word bearers discuss what the exorcists do with the demons, pact breaking and betrayals, and they say that the exorcists have no souls. Morden, a word bearer and dark apostle, thinks he is near demonic apotheosis, and the Red Marshal Cades will play a part in that last moment of ascension. Warp essence poured out of the Broken One as the ceremony continued. Cades was still inside with the others, and they must go before Cades can come out. The Dark Apostle has Viscera, Cades' axe, which the word bearer is going to use as part of this ceremony for his ascension. And as I mentioned earlier, Zaidu, along with the other Hex Breakers, arrive. Zaidu can feel his never-born brother is nearby, and he can see Cades is almost free from the exorcist Space Marine body he's been occupying, and the Apostle is ready to ascend. Cades interrupts the word bearer's ascension by reaching for his axe with his host's hand. Cades says the ceremony wasn't for the word bearer to ascend, it was for him, not the Dark Apostle, as the Neverborn had promised the word bearer. Cades beheads the Dark Apostle and takes back his axe and a lot of his power. Cades was whole and free and escapes. Due to the warp energy, Zaidu and the other Hex Breakers are taken with the demonic madness for a short time, but it had burnt out within them, their soul scraps like kindling that had flared brightly back down to nothing. Vey, the librarian, explains to Zaidu why the demon called him Demetrius when it was inside him during the initiation to join the exorcists. He says names of power, and that Zaidu's gene seed ancestor, the one who had left Dawn's fists to found the exorcist chapter, that fellow was called Demetrius. He had defeated Cades in 4 separate bouts. Zaidu remembers he had had visions of those fights, so it was messing with him as some sort of form of revenge against his ancestor. Cades wastes no time now he's free, and strikes at the Imperial Guard High Command, where it will try and slaughter enough of those officers to open a warp rift and start a demonic incursion. Cades nears that moment as the blood flows, but he needs one missing element, Demetrius. The exorcists with Xaidu and they, the librarian, in their ranks descend on that tower. As they get closer, Xaidu can hear the whispers of his never brother. When he sights Cades, the demons of chaos are already coming through a portal. Xaidu and they battle their way towards the Red Baron Cades. They get close, and Cades says, "Strike at me, Demetrius. Let me taste your anger, the way I did when I first ravaged your soul." And they fought below the gateway to oblivion. Xaidu fought not only the Neverborn, but also himself to not lose control. Even though the beast provoked him, it said, "You will hack me, and together we can praise Khorne." They fight over the axe. Cades for it to feed on the Exorcist, as it has once already in this fight. The Exorcist to buy a few more moments, and as agreed with Vey before the battle, he managed to say a single word, "Strike." The librarian came in from Xaidu's right. His foresword drove into the demon's flank, tasting Cades. The librarian has rewritten the sigils on his blade. He did not have the will to fight the demon, but he had reversed the sigils, so it dragged on the soul of Cades. The foresword was a conduit, but it was no longer designed to drive Vey's essence against the mind of another. It was now doing the opposite. Xaidu saw his opening. He drove himself up, ripping his knives free, and stepped in against Cades as his never-brother froze, locked in a mental struggle with Vey. Switching to an overlapping grip on his two knives, Xaidu scissored the blades inwards from either side of the demon's neck, shouting the oath of banishment as he took that single moment to drive every ounce of rage and determination he had left into the blow. The razor steel cut true. Cades' head came away. Flames engulfed its material form. Their heat seared at Xaidu. The Red Marshal's fury threatened to burn him up as well. And then Cades was gone, along with its axe, not even ash remaining. Xaidu did not pause, even for a moment. He turned on Vey, set to deliver the killing blow to his old mentor. Vey stops him, and from the librarian's lips comes something Xaidu never wanted to hear. It says, "Did you think it would be that easy, Demetrius?" In a mindscape within his body, Vey fights the demon, whilst Xaidu fights his never brother on the outside, and also, of course, his Space Marine brother as well. Cades says if he accepts the demon into his body, then Xaidu can still save Vey. Anu, a member of the Exorcists, has seen this moment in visions. He had shot Xaidu in those visions, and Anu still hears the whisper of the demon once bound within him, but takes control and fires through a sniper scope. He goes to armor-penetrating rounds. It hits Xaidu's forearm, punching clean through it, and struck Cherubim at the base of the blade. That's the force sword that has been used by Vey whilst Cades is control of his body. So the shot strikes Cherubim at the base of the blade, just above the crossguard. There was a great ringing sound like the tolling of the bell of the Basilica Malefics. As the sword shattered into a dozen shards, a surge of blue warp fire flared around the broken pieces of steel as they flew apart, leaving only its hilt and a jagged, smoking stub in Vey's fist. Anu closed his eyes and let his brother rest against his locked armour. He had found perfection. This let Xaidu lock the broken one's collar around the neck of Cades in Vey's body, and he says, "In the Emperor's name, I bind you, demon." Vey says he can hold the demon within in the name of Dawn. Vey is led by and placed in the Purge Tomb to join other brothers holding demons inside them. Xaidu is with him at this moment, at this end where he locks away his mentor. And Xaidu thinks to himself, damnation would catch up with him just as it had Vey. Damnatio pro nobis omnibus venit. Until that day, though, Xaidu would do his duty and face eternity when it came. Really enjoyed this book. Hoped you liked the new lore. And if you liked this video on The Exorcist, try this old one. Just a little warning, it's on my old microphone, so the sound's a little dodgy, but I'd recommend it anyway.